Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Timikemza James. So in today's video, I'm going to show you how to make this beautiful mini pencil skirt with double slit in front of it and with these sort of accessories up here. So make sure you subscribe to my channel if you're not yet subscribed, guys, and like my video if you find it helpful. So let's just jump into it, guys. So guys, I'm going to fold my fabric in half like this. Make sure you have your fabric nicely ironed before you start. So I'll make sure I have after folding it, I'll make sure I have half of my hip plus my sewing allowance by the time I fold it like this. So I'm going to mark the length of my skirt right now. So I'm working with 23. It's actually 22, but I'm using 1 inch here to turn the skirt in. So I'll just mark 23 here, and I'll mark 23 here. So I'm going to connect it like so. And the next thing, I'm going to mark the distance from my waist to my hip. So because this is a low rise skirt, it's not a high waisted skirt, so the distance from my waist to my hip, I'll mark 7 inches instead of my regular 9 inches that I use. So I'll go ahead and mark 7 inches like so. Then I'll just connect. I'll just move this a little because I initially wanted to cut out the back side because the skirt is going to have a little bit of a slit. So I'm just going to move it a little for my sewing allowance for the slit. So the slit is going to be in front. So I'll just go ahead and connect this like so. Then the next thing I'm going to be doing is to go ahead and mark my waist measurement, right? So I'm going to mark my waist like so. So I'm not going to be adding a waistband, and the skirt is going to be bandless. So 1 inch for that. I'll come and mark my dart here. So I'll mark my bust span measurement like so, and on this side as well I'll mark my bust span measurement. Then I'll measure how I want my dart to be the length. So I want to work with 5 inches. So I'll just go ahead and connect this line from this 5-inch point to here, and I'll mark 1/2 inch on both sides like so. Then I'll connect it to this 5-inch point like so, right? So I've paid for my dart here, which is this 1 inch here. My dart is 1 inch, so I paid for it 1 inch here, right? Then I'll mark 2 inches sewing allowance like so. Now on my hip point, I'm going to mark 1/4 of my hip measurement, right? I'll mark 1/4 of my hip measurement like so. Then I want 2 inches sewing allowance because my dart did not extend to my hip, so I'll mark my 2 inches sewing allowance. Now for the hem of the skirt, I want it to pencil out, so whatever I have here on the waist is what I would mark here as well. But if your waist is sort of wider than your hip side, it's okay. You can just use a smaller number here depending on how you want it to be tight or loose. So you can just use a smaller number. Now I'll come with my hip curve. So if you don't have a hip curve, it's something you should look at investing in. It's not expensive, it's really affordable. So although you can still do this without a hip curve, but a hip curve will go a long way to help you with your lines, and a pattern master as well. So I'll connect my lines like so. Now because I said I want a slit on the front side, I'm going to extend one of these darts So it's just going to be this one. I'm not going to be cutting the both sides, except you want that on both sides of the skirt. You can go ahead and cut the both of them. But for now, I'm just working with this like so. So I'll mark my bust span here as well. Then I'll go ahead and connect the line straight down. So maybe we should just do slit on both sides of the skirt, I think. So by the time I do this like so, that will be it. So for our skirts, now we're going to work more on the waist side. So for this side of the skirt, I want a design. I want the upper side of my skirt to be higher than the lower back side, and I want to add a little bit of embellishment there. So I'm going to mark 3 inches from the center front upwards. That's how high I want then from this 2-inch sewing allowance, I'll just mark here. Then I'll get my curve as well, and I'll just connect to the sewing allowance like so, to just stop exactly where the sewing allowance is, right? Now, which also means I'll have to extend my dart, right? So I'll extend the dart like so, and then this is it. So if you want to add slit on both sides, you can go ahead and cut out your dart open up to this point, so that we avoid any confusion. Let me just go ahead and cut and make the dart on the both sides of the skirt. So for the back of the skirt, I'm going to lay the front as well on the back. Like so. So you leave a little bit allowance for your zipper on this side, right? That's except of course you want to add the zip in the front alongside the slit. That's if you want to use maybe an invisible zip or designer zip or whatever, right? So now that 3-inch point that you have here, your initial waistline, this point here is what you're going to cut on the back. So I'm just going to go ahead and trace that off. So that's going to be the back waistline. So I'll just go ahead and cut the back. So you're cutting 2 pieces for the back as well. You're cutting 2 panels. Now this is just for the allowance for zip and to just sort of help me with the butt side. So when I'm sewing, I'll sew the butt side inwards like so. So when we get to the sewing side, you'll see what I mean. So here's our front and back panel, so you can see the front. So that will help somebody who has a belly to cover up nicely and also serve as a good design for the skirt as well. So I'll go ahead and cut my lining pieces exactly the same, then we'll head over to the sewing. So part 2 will be available in the next post.